Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back for week 2 of the Jonah and Avery First Spot, Second Blessing podcast. It's groovy. So, if you're listening to this, we need real talk for like just 2 seconds before we jump into this.
Some RT for ya. It's real talk. How the kids say real talk.
That's retweet RT.
Shoot.
Well, so anyways, Jonah has a mission right now. I'm hopping on this bandwagon too.
Choo-choo.
We need everybody to start saying the word groovy as much as possible.
Yeah. So when you think of groovy, audience and Avery,
Yep.
Averyans, fragrance. I don't know what's going on. I feel like what pops up in my head is like a shirtless, hairy-chested Austin Powers. And I don't know. I don't really like that anymore. I think it was great for the Shagadelic time period, the 80s, whatever, 70s. But, like, I think the groovy train needs to get rolling. So now in any email that I send out, in most texts that I send out, I put that word groovy in, and I want the train to roll again, but like I want a resurgence of the word groovy to have a respectable, nice meaning.
Right.
So I encourage this from everyone listening.
Yeah, so groovy. So let's jump.
It's already happening.
It already is. It is happening. So, all right. So this week number dos, which is technically still week 1 by the time we upload this because it took us. So listen, just so y'all know, it took us like 5 days for Jonah and I to try to get that last podcast.
To be fair, I worked on it for 4 days, and Avery found it in 1. I failed for 4 days. Yeah.
But
technology's hard, man.
Right. So this is technically podcast 2, still week 1 here, but we just want to talk about rest. It's something that Jonah has felt super placed on his heart, and I 100% can agree and attest to the fact that just our culture as a whole, Americans, does not rest as much as we should. And I would argue probably that most countries do not. Although some countries and typical business practices, they practice rest a little bit better. You know, Hispanic cultures typically take a rest in between, or to take a siesta. Yeah, siesta.
Not to be confused with fiesta.
Right. Different kind of party, siesta.
No rest at a fiesta.
No. No, maybe after a fiesta.
After rest.
Oh man, but yeah. So John, you want to talk a little bit about like why that came up and the importance you feel it?
Yeah. So like the topic of rest has been huge on my heart recently, just because well, I feel like burnout is so easily, like it's an easy occurrence in this generation. And I think it has a lot to do with the internet, with social media, with this idea that you can like see what everyone else is doing. And, you know, it's that whole idea. It's the same reason why people like hate social media, but like still love it and they continue to use it. And it's because they go on it and like they, you know, see someone doing something cool. And so they create this like fake persona of that person in their head,
right?
That person is living that life every day, and that amazing one-shot moment in a 24-hour day. Maybe it was like they haven't posted in a week or a month, and so it's all that time because math's hard, and I'm not going to try and figure those hours out. But like you essentially create this persona in your head, and then you get all depressed and you get all sad, and then you go, oh man, they're living like that every day. That's so cool. I need to start being more exciting and doing things like they are. Right. When in actuality, like the person who you're probably like idolizing in the moment and you're going like, man, I need to keep doing and doing in my life, right? Like that is a fake perception that you created in your head that quite frankly, someone probably has about you too. And because you posted one fun thing, right?
Right. And
it's this whole idea that like being able to accept, obviously, like something so important, like to me, and I know Avery too, is the idea of like taking a Sabbath. And it is not an easy thing, and I will not stand here and say that I successfully do this. I will not sit here. I will not lie. I will not sit on this computer and say to you that I constantly take a Sabbath. But man, when I do, like, is it worth it? And yet, don't consistently do it. Yet I see the results when you actually do it. Doesn't make sense because we got some messed up brains. But like, big like phrase to me recently, kind of like involving rest, is like if you love something, you have to learn to live without it. And so this could be your job, this could be a hobby, this could be an activity. But like the reason that the Sabbath is so huge is like taking a break from everything that you quote unquote have to do, and doing the things that you love to do. So have to do and want to do can still be in the same category, but like things you love to do need to be separate from the things you have or need to do, right? And that's why on your like Sabbath day, you simply do the things that you love to do. Like I do the things that like I see the most like beauty from God in, right? So like whether it's like reading, like I think even exercising can, writing, journaling, playing music, like whatever it is that like you love, that you like feel joy in, and like maybe you feel like the Lord's joy in, like that is when you get refreshed on that day. And I guess kind of like going more into rest, like right before we started, you were talking about like how busy some of your weekends can be and how crazy some of your times, and I think you said even an upcoming one. Give a little bit into that.
Yeah, so I just like, especially, so I experienced a lot of burnout last semester, and even this semester, I just like am always tired. Maybe that's because of a janky sleep schedule, but I like even on like, so our Sabbath day is technically like supposed to be like the Lord's Day, right?
Yeah.
Which is Sunday in American culture, and just like my Sundays are probably my least restful days, just because like I wake up, I go to church for a couple hours, and then after church typically ends at noon or maybe noon 30, depending on when what church I'm at that day. But then Crossroads starts at 4, which Crossroads is youth group.
What's Crossroads?
Yeah. Shout out First Pres of Waynesburg. It's a youth group. So, and like I absolutely like love the kids, but like the only break that I get during that day is like from noon to like 4.
Right.
And typically during that time, I'm like, I have to eat lunch, and then I'm typically like, because I don't have time during the week, I'm typically like playing basketball, or like this week we played ultimate frisbee for a couple hours.
Right.
So I'm literally like running from like church to lunch to some type of sport or activity or something, and then showering and going straight to Crossroads, which Crossroads is then 4 to 8, upper rooms 8 to 9.
Yike.
And then, depending on the week, sometimes I'll have something going on in that evening if it's a group project or something like that. But then, I mean, it's not a whole lot. Like, my day's gone. So it's just like really interesting. And like you said, like before we were talking about, like we were going through Hebrews 4, and I was just thinking about this. Like Hebrews 4:10 says, for anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works. And just like that idea of like, what is God's rest, and where do we see that other places in the Bible? And I think we see that a lot of places, with Jesus leaving his disciples to go and pray by himself, and just to like simply be with the Father. And I know that's something that we talked about at One Thing, which
what's One Thing, Avery?
One Thing is a conference led by IHOP. No, not the burger place, but the.
I hate that you have to say burger place. That's the worst.
I said that on purpose. Huge side note. Huge IHOP guy. Always.
What you referring to?
the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because I always go and get their omelet, and with one of their omelets, which is like huge in the first place, you also get a side of like 3 pancakes, which is like.
Where's the burger?
There's no burger. It's a
Where's the
breakfast.
sandwich?
It's a breakfast place. It's their fault. They changed it to the stupid IHOB or whatever, the International House of Brewery.
IHOB.
It really
Sounds like a
doesn't sound
sickness
right.
on your body.
I know.
My IHOB. My IHOB is oozing.
That's so gross. So, anyways, one thing is led by International House of Prayer. They actually just stopped. This was the last year that they did it, but Jonah and I were blessed enough to go with a good group of friends. It was your first time, right?
My first time?
My first time too. So we got to experience one thing for the first time together, which is pretty sweet. But one thing, the theme of it for this year was, I forget what phrase they used, but it was the Mary of Bethany story, where we see, Martha rushing around trying to get everything ready. And, she says, Jesus, tell my sister to help me out here.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, there's only one thing that's needed, and Mary has found that one thing. And
One thing.
Right,
Look at what they did there. Man.
But so we see exemplified not only by Jesus but by Mary too, just simply resting and being at Jesus' feet instead of. On the other hand, we have Martha, where we do that a lot in our own lives. I know I have to think, and we talked about this too. I mean, even when you are doing things that are good or doing things for the Lord, a lot of times we do that out of not fear, but just feeling the urge that's necessary. And a lot of that is necessary, and a lot of that is good. But if we're not doing it out of the right intentions, and we're not doing it through the Lord's power and strength and energy, and instead of trying to use our own, we're going to be depleted very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And so what does it look like to rest in the Lord? And I think that it's exactly that, is just simply being at the Lord's feet. And I know I don't practice that on a regular basis like I should, but I experience that a lot at one thing of just, stepping away from everything and just, it may not even be reading the Bible, which is such a good thing, and we definitely need to be doing, but sometimes we just need to sit and wait upon the Lord.
Right.
And I think that's part of a healthy prayer life too, is we talk so much to God. And I get in a bad habit of that. And so, I mean, in our relationships with our friends here on earth, I mean, even how much of that would be a bad relationship if we exemplify that same kind of conversation where we just talked at somebody so much and didn't allow them space to talk. And so that's been something that has been it's really, really hard to do because, like I said, going back, like our culture is just not that way at all. We feel like we have to be attending. So this semester has slowed down a lot for me, but last semester I was literally attending FCA on Mondays, Bible study Tuesdays after my night class, Bible study Wednesday, Bible study Thursday, and then I didn't have anything on Friday or Saturday, but then I was super busy on Sundays.
Right.
So I was literally almost every single day was at some type of like Bible study and then practice and then all these other things. And it's like, even those are the good things, you're not really resting, and that wears you down. And even like, shout out to Josh Sumter because he's ingrained this in my head.
Who's Josh Sumter?
He's the assistant chaplain at Waynesburg, and great guy, huge Cleveland fan. Not me, he is. But
I am close. I am close to changing my Facebook follow of a sports team.
Yikes!
Sorry.
But he keeps telling us the average burnout for a youth pastor position is 3 years. And there's a reason for that. It's because we typically, youth pastors, youth leaders, even people who don't have any faith at all, just get so burnt out because we try to draw our energy from ourselves, and we try to think that we can do it all ourselves. And we think that, if I just like pray before my meals and I pray like before night, like I go to sleep and then like I read my Bible, like that's enough for me to like be living through, like God living through me. And I would argue that that's not the case. And it's just like tough because like that's so ingrained in our culture that we have that from day one, where we have church and then Bible study and then youth group and then all these 10,000 things that we have to do on top of homework and work assignments and sports teams and extracurricular activities, all the clubs. There's just so many things that we do that take us, even though they're, like I said, even if they're good things, they still take us away from that rest in God. And it's funny because I was thinking about, typically we think like, oh man, like I'm exhausted, I need a rest, and like we go take a nap and we wake up equally, if not more, tired than when we initially went to bed. And there's some science stuff behind that. 20 minutes is a good nap time, but like we don't see that exemplified anywhere in the Bible. It doesn't say that when Jesus got worn out, he went and took a power nap and then went back to the tabernacle. It's just interesting, and it's so hard to do because even if we are able to slow ourselves down, we have FOMO because nobody else is slowing them.
We don't think they're slowing down.
We don't think they're slowing down, right?
Because we see such a small picture.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've so much so misinterpreted the actual term rest, because a lot of the times when people go like, I need a rest, I need the rest, right? They go and they take a nap or something like that. But like that is not what the word rest means. The reason that you're tired is because you didn't get a good sleep. Right. Sleep and rest are different things, right? So like rest doesn't mean that you're supposed to sleep. Now, am I saying that you're not allowed to nap? Yes.
Wait.
Yes, I am. No rest for the...
No sleep for the weary.
Right, that one. I think the phrase is like, no rest for the wicked. And I was just like, that's a weird phrase. But, right, like...
So I just looked it up, actually. The actual definition of rest is to cease work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength.
Oh, so it means to sleep?
No.
Oh.
It says be placed or supported so as to stay in a specified position. Yes. Oh, that's very different. And then the noun says an instance or period of relaxing or ceasing to engage in strenuous or stressful activity. So it does not say go take a nap. It does not say the definition of to rest is to sleep.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's just this idea too that like when it comes to like actually feeling like exhausted, like truthfully, like I read a study once about how like it's not that you are tired because you haven't been like taking naps. Like once so like say, I don't know, I think everyone has their own like special time, but maybe your golden time is like 8 hours, right? That you need sleep at night, and then you will feel like pretty good the whole day. If you get 7.5, that can be altered. If you get 8.5, that can be negatively impacted, right? And there's the fact that like the scientists have talked about, like when you do not get the right amount of sleep, you can't make that up throughout the day. Right. So let's say that you're good at 8 hours and you got 7 hours of sleep and you take an hour-long nap. It doesn't equate. Like it's not like, oh, I got 8 hours of sleep, I should now have full. That's not how it works. Like once you've lost it, you've lost it. And you kind of just have to just
deal with it.
Hope that you get more sleep that following night, right? And you just got to fight through it. But yeah, like rest in itself. You were talking about like concept that I was gonna mention, and then you mentioned it, which is awesome. Which like and I hope that like someone needs to hear this today. I know someone always does. That like it does not matter how many like Christian things or good things you are doing in a day. It does not mean that like what you're doing is beneficial. Right. To maybe to other people, sure, but even to them, like they're not getting your best. Right. Like if you're meeting with like 5 people for coffee, because we are the meeting coffee generation. If you're meeting like 5 people for coffee in a day, that second, third, fourth, and fifth person are not getting your best. Like, I promise you.
Mhm.
Because also, we like to put time frames on things, and we're like, hey, can't wait to meet you from 1 to 2.
Right.
And it's like, what if there is something that's important or something that comes up when there's 10 minutes left in your time frame that really needs to be measured that day?
Right.
And because you put a time frame on it, they could go very miserable for a while because you didn't get to speak the true life into them. Right? So, like, I've been trying to practice this thing, which I did not do last semester, which is plan for, like, a person and give them, like, a 4-hour window. And not to say that you'll ever need that.
Right.
You'll never need it.
Right.
But you never know what could happen from that.
Right.
So, for instance, like, you were talking about how busy, like, you've been recently with that stuff. Like, last semester, almost every day of the week, right, I had classes from, like, around probably 9 or 10 to, when was it? Around 2:50. Then I worked from 3 to 6. Then I helped out with, like, a youth or an event through a church I used to go to. I walked down there, so I wound up helping from around 6:45 to, like, 10 something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do that type of thing on the regular every day.
Right.
And it was great because, like, in my free moments I was going to, like, a Bible study, and then in my free moments, which were rarer, I was, like, going to the gym, and I was like, man, I am living the life. Everything is great. But I was so exhausted, and I was doing so many quote unquote, like, good and healthy things,
Mm-hmm. but
none of them really mattered. Because not, like, my full heart and my soul was not in it.
Mm.
Like, the whole point of rest is, so let's go to, like, the creation story, right?
Right.
Creation, day 1 through 6, lots of fun creation and time, which should be a concept some other time that we talk about in a video. Days. The 7th day, God rested.
Mm.
Why would God need to rest? He
Right.
created everything. He created sleep and time and rest. So why is this God needing to do it? He created the concept of tired
Mm-hmm.
and not tired. And so it's this thing where it's like he didn't need to, but he knew that we would need to.
Right.
And that's why he set the example on the 7th day.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's go even further. If anyone's ever heard of the 10 Commandments, there's, like, a third one, right? So the first one's don't have any other gods before God. The second one, don't use his name in vain, or, by the way, swear by him. Those are 2 things that kind of go in the same
Right.
factor.
Right.
So those are, like, kind of, like, about, like, honoring God, right? And then
Right.
the third one, still about honoring God, but it's more about, like, something that we're actually doing, and it's remember to keep holy the Lord's day.
Right.
Remember to keep, like, that day holy. And that, by the way, those first 2 we were talking about earlier, I feel like those are the 2, like, biggest commandments because they involve, like, literally loving and honoring God, your
Right.
creator. So how I look at it is, even though I'm not saying any of them are more important,
Right.
I am looking at it and I'm saying, okay, 1, 2, super most important.
Right. Well, if you do those, everything else falls into place,
Right.
essentially.
Right. And so I look at 3 and I'm like, remember to keep it, right? He made it important because, like, back in the hizay, with, like, with not a whole lot going on, no social media, you know, like, you skipped rocks, and that was, like, you know, a pirate game. That was super fun. The Pirates, by the way, are a baseball team. I know most people have forgotten. We have for a while. They're gonna make it.
They're doing all right?
2060 playoffs.
Okay.
Calling it. But, like, that was their fun, right? They didn't have a whole lot of options. We have about 1 million options to do constantly every day. And so I think that's, like, why there's such an importance on keeping a day of rest. He rested on the 7th day because he knew that the reason that we need to learn to sacrifice the things we love is because if you do the things you love 7 days a week, you will resent one of those things or all of them.
Right.
No matter what, because you never give yourself a break. And it's just, like, it's going to happen. And then I guess, like, the last thing that I kind of wanted to say, like, just on that same topic is remember to keep holy the Lord's day. So our society has determined that the Lord's day is Sunday.
Mm.
That does not need to be your Sabbath.
Right.
Right, like, the whole idea of the Sabbath is to take a rest day. And in all honesty, like, like Avery was talking about, his Sundays are super busy. Like, so are mine. And Sundays are also, I personally wouldn't suggest doing Saturdays or Sundays. And the reason that I say that is because people are off work and there's a lot of opportunities to get to meet with people and talk with people and see people and hang out with people that you wouldn't normally have, and maybe do things. So that's why, if you can, plan for a Monday through Friday, like day of rest. That is so ideal because a lot of other people are busy and you wouldn't be able to like do crazy stuff with them anyways,
Right.
hang out with them, whatever it may be. And so, like, no, it does not have to be a Sunday. It just needs to be a day that you're, like, willing to stop, willing to sacrifice, and actually, like, I don't know, like, chill.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, just, like, I was just thinking, like, is it even possible in our society for us to take a full day? Like, I don't know that that's even possible, because for most people who are probably listening to this are college students, right? Or, I mean, even if they're not, most people work a 9 to 5, so there's 6, no, that's 8. There's 8 hours right there that's gone out of your day.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, instead of, and this is one of those things too that the enemy can use, because like people automatically assume, oh well, I can't take a full day, so I might as well not even try.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so counterintuitive, because you don't see, LeBron James didn't jump like straight from the womb to the NBA. You know what I mean? Like
it took him like a year or 2.
Right. He was like 3 when he entered. So, but like anything that's worth it, you have to work for.
Yeah.
Right. And anything that is worth it and that's good, there's a process that you have to build up to. So I think like, even like when we want to talk about like reading the Bible, you don't just like sit down and read the Bible straight through. I mean, you do it a verse at a time, a chapter at a time, a book at a time, right? So instead of saying like, oh, I can't take a full day for like my Sabbath, like start with 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Start with 15 minutes,
right.
where and build that habit.
Yeah.
And once it becomes a habit, that 15 can turn into 30, can turn into an hour,
right.
can turn into 4, and et cetera. And again, I'm not sure that it's possible, just the way our society works, for to take a full,
I think it's very dependent on the person.
day. Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah,
Well, if somebody's a stay at home, like they work on their own hours and they
right.
can take
yeah.
something.
It's
But
easier.
yeah, so I mean, work up to it. We don't have to. I mean, that's kind of where I'm. It takes like one moment, right?
Yeah.
And it's always, the hardest part is getting started, and then once you get
Yeah.
that ball rolling, it's the snowball effect, right? The snowball gets bigger and bigger, and then it just goes by itself. So
It rolls over you.
right, and then you're part of the snowman in the butt. Typically, I mean,
You're usually the butt of a
not,
snowman.
well, if you're in the snowball, that's typically the first part you lay down.
butt.
You know what I mean? No, you're the butt.
Where are the legs? how he finna move?
Frosty. Buy some a special hat.
Yeah, I think we need to do a logistics check on how Frosty was able to move or get. Did he move?
Yeah, he moved. What do you mean he moved?
So he slid, but like, where was his propulsion of his?
Well, when in the hat, he grew legs.
Oh, he had legs.
Snow legs. Yeah.
Snow legs.
Snow legs. Yeah.
Do you think his legs had little hats?
No, they didn't. Have you seen Frosty?
Not in a while.
Well,
It's April.
It's. How many times have you seen Frosty in your life? You're what, 20 years old?
I know the date. 2003, August 4th was the last time I saw Frosty.
Shut your
Christmas
mouth.
in August.
It was.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And I guess like one other thing that I was thinking on was like this idea of how kind of like the Lord sees you. So time, again, a future concept. A man-made concept, a future concept for an episode.
Right.
Right. In my opinion, like the way that like the Lord looks at time is he looks at your end, and your end is like becoming more like Christ, right? And I think there are so many different ways throughout your life that you can do that and that he's willing to work with you. And I don't think that he's based so much on a week to week schedule, whereas we are, and we look at it as day to day, week to week. We need to do all these things to grow closer to God. We need to go and serve and go to a soup kitchen, and then we need to go to our Bible study, and then we need to go meet with that guy for coffee because he was very sad the other day. Then we have to do this, that. But God's like, I see you as I want you to be at the end right here. And my goal is to get you like that. But the things that you keep doing without consulting me about that are supposed to be like for God's glory, right? Like, those things, they're great, but you're also never consulting me. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like we can do as many things as we want that look good.
Right.
But if we're not like asking, even in the smallest decisions, for like the Lord to like guide every single thing we're doing, I think there's going to be a lot of self-doubt that like we're not doing things for the right reasons, or maybe we're leading the way. Like I faced that so much where it's like I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but because I just went ahead and did it, there's still a doubt factor that it was me pushing forward and that it wasn't actually something that fell like under God's decision making.
Right.
And I think that's a horrible place to feel because there's an easy way to fix it, and it's just let him decide. Right. Surrender it.
Right. Well, and even like in earthly terms, I think about like we can be doing all these things and maybe we don't experience that doubt, but we don't see productiveness.
Yeah.
Right. I think about like there's a NBA trainer that I follow on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's always posting a bunch of like analytical stuff, which is like really super interesting actually to hear and to watch. But I just think about like if you're training for something, whether it be the faith aspect of your life or even like in sports, like if you're not consulting somebody who's better than you and somebody who you look up to, like you're not getting anywhere. Right. So like you were just talking about for like our faith, like if we're not consulting the Lord in like our decisions and we're just like wasting energy, the same can be true for like sports even. Like if there's like an 8-year-old that is like wanting to, just like we'll say like a high schooler, right, who wants to play on varsity, but he just goes home and like does a bunch of random drills, like he watches Street Ballers and tries to do all these crazy things like with his dribbling and all that stuff. If he's not talking to the varsity coach about, hey, how can I get better? What do I need to do to get this playing time or to make the team? It's going to be all for nothing. I mean, because then he's going to come back to practice and he's not going to have what the coach wants. I mean, he may get lucky and it may translate, but a lot of wasted energy and a lot of wasted time that it just, we just like, it really, and that goes back to what we've been saying about like, you can be doing good things, but if you're not resting and doing them out of your own energy, and if you're not consulting the God who made you and who has a plan for your life, then that what are you doing that for? You know? So, I mean, we can't see into God's heart and his plan, but he can see into ours, and a lot of fruitless labor that we often forego.
Yeah, I think to each be his own with all that. Like, quite frankly, I think for a lot... Okay, so I used to be an introvert. I was born an introvert. I grew up an introvert, and I was happy as an introvert. And then I saw the benefits of being an extrovert, and I never changed for being an introvert, but I started living an extroverted life.
Right.
And it was not fun. And I still struggle with it now because it was... I hate saying the term FOMO so much. I'm going to come up with a new word for it.
Fear of missing out.
That's 4 words. Well, 1 word. Waffle fryer. So I was suffering from waffle fryer burn a lot. And I just kept wanting to fill up that schedule. And it became See, it really altered the way that I felt like I was most comfortable being. And so I just started pushing to do more and more and more. And it put my soul at an unease, to be kind of like trying to pursue a life that like I wasn't comfortable as. And yeah, like it had its benefits, but I think it just all comes down to like there are people who can be doing a lot of stuff, and maybe like the Lord actually has gifted them to be able to do that. Maybe He's gifted like them to succeed in that.
Right.
And there are people like maybe you or I who are more comfortable focusing on a few things at a time, and that's where they can put boom, like all their energy, all their effort into one thing. And again, I think as you were talking about, like it's not just a thing that has to do with like the faith, like it can go outside of it, right? There are people in the world who they just seem to have a better knack and a better skill for constantly doing things, constantly being on the move, and then there are those people who aren't like that, and they feel more comfortable like doing less things and putting all their effort into those. And I think it's super easy for those people to start feeling like they're doing something wrong. But I think it all comes to like this inner reflection on yourself. Like step out of the shoes of the people who you're viewing and the people who you're putting on a pedestal. Step into your own heart and like actually look and be like, man, like, is this where I feel like the most at peace? And if you feel at peace doing less, do less. If you feel at peace doing more, like keep doing it, because we need both types of people in the world to like fully accomplish all the things that need to get done. And I think it's a lot of self-reflection. Like, don't just assume because someone else is doing something one way that you need to, like, I feel like this is a lesson that I could be teaching like second graders right now, but like it's on an upgraded scale. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just all about being comfortable with yourself when it comes to that rest and doing more type of thing. And like, you'll know, like you can lie to yourself all you want, but you know at your core where you thrive best. And if it takes shutting off social media or like whatever it is, do it so that for a while you can actually get used to who you are, and you can start that pattern of behavior. You know?
This sponge is super squeaky.
Squeaky?
Squeaky.
My dude Avery's on a squeaky bench.
Yeah. But I was just gonna say, like, I think too that whole social media piece is really, really interesting because a lot of people automatically assume, oh, social media is bad. So when they go on a cleanse or when they come back from a huge conference, they're like, oh, let me delete all my social media, and they bring it back after like a month. It never lasts.
And we're not taking shots at people who do that because I've done it.
I've been there too. I mean, I deleted my Snapchat before one thing, so I mean, it wasn't really super high. But I just think like we were saying, Jonah, like that. It's all about self-reflection. Right. We can't. The only person we can compare ourselves to in the faith is Christ. And there's certain components of other people where we can say, hey, if they're doing this really well, like Christ, then I want to try to be more like that, because it is helpful to have, I guess, attainable like examples, or like physical examples here. But like also like if. Oh, shoot, where was I going?
You got
it. With the social media, I don't always think I don't always think that's the answer. I mean, I'm not on Twitter just because I don't like the function of it. I'm an old man. I don't do that. But
bringing back the MySpace from last week.
Right. But like I'm on Facebook. Honestly, I'm only on Facebook for birthdays. So if you're listening to this and I have at some point in our friendship or knowing you forgotten your birthday, do not take it personal. It probably wasn't on Facebook, so that's fine. But
what if it was on Facebook and right now it just looks like
rip?
You just didn't want to.
Rip Arena. We obviously weren't that good of friends. But like I do think social media can be a good tool. But it's all about how you use it. And It ultimately, like, it does come down to that self-reflection piece. And yeah, I mean, you and I are talking about rest, and how big it needs to be in our lives because, we just need to like slow down the business
Because we haven't been good at it.
Right, because we haven't
That's why
been
we
good
talk
at
about
it. And so, like, yeah, I think, like, some people are gifted to be way busier than others, but they still have to find, you still have to find that time for, like, the Sabbath, because that is exemplified. But, yeah, it's super interesting. And that concept of time
is oh my gosh, time hurts my
that
head.
would be another, if we started now, we go on for another 50 minutes.
Oh my gosh,
that would be a long one.
And we can't because the Penguins play tonight.
The Penguins.
I don't know if anyone watching this likes hockey, because I sure don't. But Avery here does.
I enjoy hockey. It's funny, though, interesting enough.
What?
So, when we lived in Ohio, I was only like a baby to 9 months old. I mean, still a baby. But I was born to 9 months old in Ohio. So, obviously wasn't following hockey then.
Yeah.
My parents aren't huge hockey people. So, then when we moved to Florida Panthers is their team, right? So, like,
I have no clue.
they're not even based in the city. It's just Florida Panthers. Everybody else has a
Really
specific
sad.
city.
They're just everywhere, man.
Right. But there's, like, not very many. I don't think there's very many Panthers in Florida, so it's kind of weird.
That's also weird.
Yeah. But anyways.
Are there Panthers in Carolina?
I don't know.
Because then the football has it wrong, too.
Right.
The football. See how sport I am.
Right. But yeah. So, anyways, long story short, did not start following hockey until we moved here back in... Actually, I didn't even start following hockey until my sophomore year of college. So that was back... Let's see, when did I start? I started in 2015, 2016. So, like, 2016, 2017 season is, like, when I started following hockey.
Okay.
So I did bring a couple championships. Our family, we bring championships when we move. So that's not something we talked about last podcast. But when we moved out to... when we moved from Florida to Indiana, Tony Dungy followed us.
Wow.
He was the coach for the Buccaneers and then was the coach for the Colts, yeah. So we brought a championship to them. They won the Super Bowl back in 2000,
Devin Hester.
2006.
Yeah.
2006.
That was a great year. I cried
was,
during that Super Bowl.
Really?
Peyton Manning was my guy.
He's, oh my goodness. So, also this is how my brain works. Never been diagnosed, but I'm thinking like maybe some small ADHD, ADD, some stuff. But anyways, so Peyton Manning, his retirement was during that like same time frame of when I broke my ankle.
Whoa!
And I was in.
He caused it.
Yeah.
By retiring.
Right. Yeah. No.
Kind of rude.
Right. Yeah. Peyton, if you're listening to this,
coming for you. Peyton, if you're listening to this, we have more important things to say.
right. My dude. No, but so I was in Indiana with my mom over spring break. Ankle broken. My mom and aunt were like at the store doing something. They were out. I was at my aunt's house by myself. And I was pretty much planted in this chair. And I'm watching ESPN. Peyton Manning's getting ready to retire in about an hour or two.
Yeah.
And something was not right in my stomach. And so, mind you, I'm on one leg, non-weight bearing on my other leg, so I still have crutches.
Right.
I book it to the bathroom about as fast as possible, which isn't very fast because my aunt's hallway is very narrow. So I get to the toilet, I throw up.
Yeah.
And I come back out. My aunt and my mom come back, and they're helping me out, whatever. So anywho, I watched Peyton Manning's retirement, sitting on the chair with a broken ankle, hurling into a huge freaking water jug.
You were more miserable than he was.
I was crying the whole time for multiple reasons.
Ew, man, I'm just imagining you like crying and then you throwing up while you're crying. It's such a sad scene. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was so bad.
You were like, so you were a cripple who was crying and puking.
Yes. While my idol was retiring. This is nuts.
Okay, so back to your championship.
But back to the championship. So Indiana, we brought championships there. And then we moved to California where we brought championships to the Giants. And I can't remember if the 49ers won one or not, but they suck.
Probably not.
But then we moved here and brought the Pens to championships. So
That's pretty skilled.
we've got
Did you also bring them that playoff loss a few days ago?
no,
That was not you.
Our championship
Yeah.
period runs out after 5 years.
Okay, we better tell the Penguins fans that.
Right. I just did
Hey,
on this
guys.
podcast. So if there's a city listening to this that has a sports team that's kind of in the dumps right now, and you guys want to hire our family, you know where to find me. So
Can you imagine if you were the guy who did that for Cleveland?
that would be nuts.
If you were the one who brought them this success?
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be. We'll just stop there because that's a whole nother conversation. But anyways, so yes, did not start getting into hockey until my sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
And I love hockey now, and the Pens are playing tonight. So we just talked for like 7 more minutes about nothingness, and we could have been talking about the Pens. But
Oh, wow, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, because there's just so much. The interesting thing is you said you weren't into hockey before you, got here.
right,
I think that is the same. I was listening to some guys on the radio the other day, and I think it's so true, and it just reiterates this fact that, honestly, outside of Pittsburgh, hockey is no big deal
right,
in most places.
right,
And a lot of it is because of ESPN and the fact that look at how many NBA, MLB games that they actually show every year.
right.
Then think about the games that the NFL shows cards up there, because you never see a graphic that says, "Oh man, can't wait for random Canadian to play Toothless Ovechkin," or whatever that is. You never see a hockey announcement a big commercial where they put a bunch of effort into it.
Right.
It's always LeBron's going against not I was about to say Melo, but I was only if LeBron's playing unemployed basketball players. No, but you always see these big names. Never do they announce hockey.
Right.
And I think that's why you have to go to also I heard this stat. The Penguins are so first off, 15 or 16 NHL teams make the playoffs, which is over half the league.
Yeah, I think there's 30 teams or 32 teams.
So over half the league makes the playoffs first off.
Mhm.
And the Penguins are the first team to do it this much consistently. They're the only team that has been there for this many years in a row, which is just amazing too, that there's not there isn't really a powerhouse other than the Penguins, and
right.
the shift of power happens so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if the Warriors stuck together forever, there would never be a shift of power again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Kevin Durant leaves this summer and probably someone follows him, there will be a shift of power.
Right.
And all of a sudden, people will watch basketball again
Mhm.
because they don't know what's going to happen.
Warriors only have the 3rd best record in this season, though.
Regular season. Regular season.
I don't know. Antetokounmpo.
Dude, that's a good team.
Dude,
They picked up a lot of nice little guys.
Dude.
Also,
Raptors. Kawhi's not staying.
Kawhi's not staying.
Serge asked him. And
I know, I saw that today. He
said-
couldn't even be honest.
He gave him the hand.
It's I feel like there are a lot of teams that, even the 76ers, they got Butler and they got Harris, who are both going to be free agents. So, this is,
Bro, Tobias Harris, he's nice.
weirdly a good player. Also, the Clippers traded him and are still in the playoffs.
Right.
But there's no way that they're going to,
He should have been an all-star.
he should have been.
He should have easily been.
But, the Clippers can't make the...
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast topic.
Just on the Clippers? I don't know if
on
anyone
the
will watch
freaking
that.
Clippers, Lakers, Magic step down. LeBron's leaving.
LeBron's not leaving.
No, he's not leaving. But they're
Luke
not-
Walton did just step down, though.
Luke Walton stepped down too.
Right before this interview. They mutually agreed to part ways,
Bruh.
which means they bribed him. And we're like, please leave. LeBron doesn't like this.
Insane.
Did you know that Luke Walton and LeBron James came into the NBA the same year?
Wow.
They were both rookies,
So
and
did
now
Dwayne
he's his
Wade.
coach. How
That's
weird is
funny.
that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd be livid. If I were LeBron, I'd be like, what are you doing here, homie?
It's very weird. Also, I heard that there were a lot of people who didn't want to be in Space Jam with LeBron. Giannis, he denied it.
That's what I said. I saw that. Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I don't want the drama."
Who wouldn't want to be in Space Jam?
I don't know, man. I'm excited for that though. I don't care who is in it. I'm just excited for. It took him what 20 years? How long? When was Space Jam released?
I gotta be honest. I've never seen Space Jam.
You've never.
No, I was fake
Shut up.
fan.
Next podcast, we will watch Space Jam.
We will watch Space Jam and we won't say a word. You're just gonna hear the background audio of Space Jam.
All right, we should probably wrap this up. When was Space?
This would be the finale. This
Jam.
reveal.
Can I get a drum roll, please? 2 days after my birthday. Pop quiz, Jonah Phillip.
Crap.
When's my birthday?
You're Facebook.
I don't even know if I do have it on Facebook.
If you don't have your birthday on Facebook, you are a hypocrite, sir.
Right.
You were getting on them earlier. I'm gonna say that your birthday is. You feel
Year.
To me-
Year. Go. Start with the year.
oh nuts 96.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Okay.
pretty good.
Yeah.
To me, you feel like a summer birthday guy.
I feel like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was gonna say. No.
I just touched his knee for anyone wondering. No, you're not a summer birthday guy.
No, it's
Well, that's
okay.
because my feelings are usually lead me the wrong way.
Mhm.
What you really are is definitely a fall guy.
I wish you're getting warmer.
I was kidding. You're usually a winter guy,
Yeah. I'm not a winter. I don't like winter, but that's when my birthday is. Yeah.
right? You're definitely a December birthday. I was kidding.
Nope.
It's a joke. Practical joke.
Right. Impractical Jokers. Shout
Laugh.
out. Joe's my favorite for sure. Do you watch Impractical Jokers?
Yeah, Joe was good. I think Sal was my favorite.
That makes
He's
sense.
coming here for
You're-
stand-up by himself.
Sal's funny.
Is he? I've
His,
never seen
I
him
like
do
his.
something.
I like his stand up better than I like him on Impractical Jokers.
Okay.
He's my least favorite. Sorry, Sal.
Oh, you like.
But you like
Hugh
you
more?
embody
Do I?
Sal.
Because I'm a little chunkier.
No, I won't say why. Not on the podcast.
It's worse.
November 13th was my birthday. So November-
Space Jam came out on November 11th.
15th.
Nuts!
So in conclusion, keep the Sabbath holy. Commandment number 3, and
Don't watch hockey.
no, watch hockey. Hockey's those. Okay, again, another podcast. But hockey players are the most skilled athletes on this planet. Not up for debate.
It's because they have to make up for skill in how many teeth they've lost.
Right.
So 1 tooth equals like 30 skill.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like 30 plus 30 skill right there.
Have you seen
All right. So
We'll get to it later.
we'll talk about this later. Thank you guys again for listening. Again, if you're listening at this point, shout out to you because this has been almost a full hour.
And if you skipped to the end, it
Right.
counts. It counts.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
You're a tool. If you
I was,
skip to the
I was gonna say, I don't know. I think that's not bad.
You didn't listen to the whole thing. But anywho, all right. Thank you guys again for listening. We will catch you next week. Stay grooving.
Catch you on the flippity flop.
The flippity flop.
Flippity flip.
Groovity grop.
All right, guys.